since competitors are no longer allowed to compete in the female division. The current discussion regarding transgender women in sports has spread to the pool. Following two transgender women's participation in the Women's Pro Series event final earlier this month, the Ultimate Pool Group, UPG, the professional organization for 8-ball pool, has implemented the new law. The interaction between Lucy Smith and Harriet Haynes provoked intense demonstrations in the midst of legal actions taken by female-born players against UPG's transgender policy. In the Ultimate Pool Women's Pro Series Event 2 final at Robin Park Leisure Center in Wigan, Haynes defeated Smith 8-6. However, that will no longer occur in the future. UPG has been conducting its own investigation into whether biological males had a natural edge over females in the sport as defined by the Equality Act, in accordance with a recent Supreme Court ruling. As a result of their findings, trans athletes are no longer permitted to compete in female-only competitions. UPG today amended our eligibility rules for the Women's Series, and all women's competitions held under UPG, the organization said in a statement. Only women who are biologically born are eligible to enter and participate in Ultimate Pool Women's events as of April 23, 2025. We acknowledge that the adjustments may be difficult for some members of the pool community. Our organization is dedicated to showing empathy to every member of our community, and we anticipate that everyone will do the same. Before obtaining clarification on the matter, UPG further stated on their website that they had been caught in a vacuum of uncertainty surrounding the issue of eligibility to participate in its Women's Series. The question of eligibility to compete in its Women's Series has left UPG in a state of ambiguity since its founding. Their revised terms state that the position is now clear due to two recent developments. In order to determine whether 8-ball pool was a gender-affected sport under the Equality Act of 2010, UPG sought an expert's opinion. Crucially, this report was commissioned to determine whether transgender women had an advantage in the particular sport of 8-ball pool due to biological differences between transgender women and women born as women, as well as whether these biological differences were addressed by a gender recognition certificate. The biological and Q-sports expert who co-authored the report came to the unmistakable conclusion that 8-ball pool was a gender-affected sport, that female players in Q-sports face particular disadvantages in comparison to male players, and that transgender women continue to enjoy male advantages. Separately, on April 16, 2025, the Supreme Court rendered its ruling in the case of For Women Scotland versus Scottish Ministers. The Supreme Court decided in this case that, for the purposes of the Equality Act of 2010, a person's legal sex remains unchanged despite obtaining a gender recognition certificate. The ruling has brought clarity that trans women cannot participate in women's sport, and the Equality and Human Rights Commission, EHRC, will pursue organizations that do not update their policies, said Baroness Kishore-Faulkner, chairperson of the EHRC. UPG appreciates the clarity this ruling provides. Piers Morgan and Sharon Davies have weighed in to back the dissatisfaction of female-born players, but the alteration should put an end to their prior commotion. When opponent Lynn Pinches declined to compete in the Women's Champion of Champions final in Prestatyn in November 2023, citing concerns about impartiality, Haynes was granted a landslide victory. Later, Pinches told Talk TV, "You know deep down that it's unfair, so even if you win, it doesn't matter if you play a transgender player. Playing against females and having a biological male advantage provides you a distinct category edge. I consider how unfair it is and how this is a level I can't reach before, during, and after the match every time I play a transgender player. I observe some of the shots they play, and I believe that women don't clear up like this or play these shots down the rails like this. Many of them are taller than ourselves, and they can reach farther. People don't talk about this topic because they are afraid of being perceived as transphobic, which has silenced women. This is a justice issue, not a gender one." The Prestatyn incident, in which Pinches lost the match due to the first lag shot, made headlines throughout the world and sparked intense discussion. Haynes later disclosed that she received a ton of hate mail on the internet, calling it a cesspool of awfulness, and stating, "It was unreal, horrific. Lots of disgusting abuse." Haynes has defended her right to compete in the women's division on numerous occasions since she had a transition more than 10 years ago. She told the BBC, "Trans women are not a threat to pool. We won't be swarming over. There is nothing to be afraid about." It had been difficult for governing organizations to agree on a uniform policy. A statement stating that only naturally born women would be eligible to compete in the Women's Series was released in August 2023 by the World Eightball Pool Federation, WEPF, and Ultimate Pool Group, but it was later overturned. Later, the WEPF clarified, as long as regulatory requirements are fulfilled. The women's series will allow players who identify as transgender or non-binary to compete. Players like Pinches were dismayed by that U-turn, but Haynes defended the decision, saying she would withdraw from the women's pool if there was unmistakable proof of an unfair advantage. I would stop if the rules were changing and there was clear proof that I had a significant advantage over someone else. However, there isn't. The next Women's Pro Series games will be held at Bolton Wanderers Stadium in May.